Hey everybody, welcome to Cream of the Crop Presents Action USA, directed by Hollywood stuntman John Stewart. Boston native John Stewart started his film career at the age of 17 as a stunt double for Matt Dillon, and he quickly became one of the most sought-after stuntmen in Hollywood, having worked on numerous films throughout the 80s and 90s, such as Hard Rock Zombies, Neon Maniacs, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Creepazoids, Sorority Babes, and the Slimeball Bolorama, Night of the Demons, Phantasm 2 and 3, Death Spa, to name a few of my own favorites. In 1987, John Stewart broke the world record after falling 16 stories while on fire for the movie Cold Steel starring Sharon Stone. While recovering from a broken back on the set of Fred Olen Ray's Armed Response, John wrote the script for Action USA, which remained lost to VHS for over 30 years until just very recently. He later worked as a director on a few other projects, such as the equally bonkers Cartel, and he worked on many episodes of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, including the Christmas special, Alpha's Magical Christmas, which is not fun to watch. It's just Christmas songs. If you like Christmas songs, you're going to love it. And later he actually made a film about his own career as a stuntman called Fall Guy, the John Stewart Stories, which seamlessly works in the actual stunts from all the movies that I've just shown you, minus the Power Rangers movie. And it stars the Green Ranger himself, Tommy, Jason David Frank, as John Stewart. Lately, John has turned to his second love, music. He has collaborated with American Idol star Kristen McNamara, and he just recently founded the lively and effervescent Latin dance band called Juliana, who just released their new single, Tu Sabor. So check it out on Spotify and YouTube. And he has dreams of one day touring the world as the opening act for Shakira once everything opens up again. So I'm going to toss it to my fellow crappers, and we're going to go through a couple of drinking games to just make the night more enjoyable and help you just replicate some of the cream of the crap atmosphere at home. So this is one of my favorite movies of all time, I have to say. It took me a long time to find it, and I hope that you guys enjoyed as much as we did. So take it away, guys.
As is tradition with Cream of the Crap, we have devised some drinking games for you. First one, anytime the bad guy, so it's bad guy catch up. So anytime bad guys inexplicably catch up with the good guys on the road, which is all the time.
Okay, next one is anytime there's an explosion! Explosion, explodes, car explodes, house explodes, a person explodes, drink.
Every time someone gets kidnapped or released.
And of course, you got to take a drink every time there's some macho posturing.
And you got to take a drink anytime somebody jumps it or punches it. And you'll know what that means when you watch the movie. It's very exciting.
And take a drink anytime someone jumps out or is pushed out of a window.
Every time Carmen shows a new talent.
Ah.
Her boobs. She speaks Spanish.
Those look nice today.
She fights. She hits the guy with the nail. I don't know. I was impressed by her. I thought she was just going to be the bimbo. And I think she's the star of the movie.
Pretty badass.
Yeah.
Don't you think it would be appropriate for this screening, this film, that everyone starts out with a blended drink?
And if you don't know what that means, you'll find out right away. So watch the movie, and we'll be back after the movie to ramble incoherently for about an hour and a half, unless I edit it down.
Wow. Billy Ray was the only one who knew where the diamonds were. Now you have them, and I want them.
Clay Oswald, I'm here to help you.
Get off of me! He didn't say anything about diamonds!
Tell him I want the broad back here alive.
Jump it!
Boss called in Drago. He must want him bad.
That's quite an outfit. When in Texas, I dress like a Texan.
Fight!
All right, fight!
Hi.
Yeah, well, usually we will like start the movie with like some quotes and stuff, but because it's usually because we it's a movie's a secret, but everybody knows what the movie is. And honestly, I was trying to find some like bad reviews of this movie online.
There's
And there's
many.
none. It's like everybody loves this movie.
Yeah.
It's like I looked on like IMDb and Amazon. It's all like 4.5, 5 stars.
Because it's a pretty general concept that they've done a good job of like editing and pacing it, but it's still a bad movie. It's very weird. I was trying to figure out how to explain that out of all the bad movies we've watched, this is probably one of the better ones. And I don't know how to put that in words because they still do the stupidest things. There's cheesy acting, but yeah, like the editing very much was paced well. Whereas like, you know, some of them you've got like sock puppet snakes. You didn't have that here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no Muppets in Action USA.
Yeah, there's no elf rape in this either.
Oh.
Yeah. I would say that it's not a bad movie, but it's so ridiculous. Like the world it's created in is just bonkers. Yeah. So then when there's no rules, then you can go nuts. And it's pretty amazing how I was expecting like it was going to be so ridiculous that it was just like, oh, I can't. But it was well managed, which must have been near impossible in doing this. Just with all the stuff. I mean, they're like, we're going to try every stunt there is.
It's not that crazy of a movie, but it's like anytime anybody gets into a car,
gotta hang out the side.
It's a really good like a commercial for like safe driving, like, and like anytime anyone's near a window or something, like it's like there's gonna be trouble.
Yeah.
There should be a like standard tornado preparedness video for everyone. You know, stay away from the windows.
Yeah, pretty much.
Will Smith and John Stewart made this movie. Their names are all over it. I'm doubting it's the same ones we think. The opening needed more car shots. There's a guy speeding around in an espresso and coffee machine car with a girl.
It's his mobile smoothie delivery service. He's the smoothie king of Texas.
Riding
in. I wanted to ask James. I feel like you might have a better sense of this than I do. Like, is that a thing in cars?
What?
Having like two blenders.
Am I a car guy?
I don't know. Like, I feel like you're more of a car guy than I am.
I have a Saturn Astra, like a 2008 Saturn Astra. Like,
maybe are you a blender guy then?
I would say that if you're an undercover kind of FBI agent, that's the kind of, you drive the most ridiculous car to not draw attention away from, because there's no way an FBI agent would drive something like that. That's my guess.
It also, did you guys notice there was like a stretcher hanging off the back of the car?
I thought those were training wheels.
That engine needs all the bracing and scaffolding.
And what did he have in like the canisters to make it go fast?
It just takes off.
That's the like Fast and Furious and all that. We are not car people. Let's just start with that. Write in if you're a car person. Call the number below.
I was gonna ask, like, you know, Amanda, how important is a potential suitor's car to you? Are you impressed by their car? But maybe clearly not, since none of us know anything about cars.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've dated a lot of women that drive crappy cars, and it has never affected it has never affected my opinion of them. But I've never dated anybody who drove a car that made coffee and espresso, so I don't know, maybe that would be a huge turn on. She likes bad boys. She states it. She says so. Carmen? Who, when they're showing it, I thought she was just going to be the bimbo. They totally didn't put any importance on her character at the beginning there. The importance was the road, the POV of the road, which they cut to like 100 times, and how beautiful the car is and that guy. But yeah, she likes the bad boys in those coffee cars. This one didn't have as much of the bad, like, oh, the woman doesn't matter.
Well, she just like, her job is just get like kidnapped and saved, and then kidnapped and then saved and kidnapped again.
Yes. Yeah. Well, all of them. That's all of their jobs. That's the police job too.
Yeah. Yeah, they all get kidnapped at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Most incompetent witness protection agents I've ever seen in my life.
So they go from riding around for like minutes. They must have spent a lot of money on that car. They loved that car. They drove around for a long time. And then they get to his house, and he lives in this beautiful residential neighborhood, but he's got like a gun hanging out of his pants.
Yeah.
That opening scene is all foreplay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, I will say right now, that is probably one of the best almost love scenes that we've seen so far. And I don't know what this is saying about me, if this is saying like maybe my mind's going to mush during quarantine, but like that thing was 5 minutes and it was all foreplay. The acting was actually pretty well done. I don't know what's happening to me. I think you guys are a bad influence. I was like, I can see the merits of this movie.
Yeah, you just have really low expectations for what we're going to show you. So
Yes.
like, if we show you anything that has like a remote good story, good acting.
The thing is, I didn't watch a trailer of this movie. I'd only heard about it through the VHS circle, like this VHS. And I always thought that it was a compilation movie.
I don't know if it was like in the late 80s, there's this, you know, a lot of these stuntmen wanted to just shoot their own movies. And, you know, you had Action USA, you had Stunt Rock. What was the one with, they remade it with all the cars and stuff with Nicolas Cage.
Right?
Yeah.
Which one?
Like Gone in 60 Seconds.
All clips of racing and crashes
and I thought that's what this was going to be, but then this I felt was more akin to I don't know if it was intentional, I don't know, but it reminded me in so many ways of Hooper with Burt Reynolds, which is like a love letter to the stuntmen, and a lot of kind of tongue-in-cheek things. I found that it was just, there's so many moments in this movie that to really, I mean, everyone just watched it, so they know what I'm talking about, but like, where do you start? Like,
they messed me up on my being able to call everything that was going to happen with the fact that they shifted through so many bad guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a revolving door of bad guys in this movie.
Yeah. I was like, oh, these are the two guys. And when they kill the guy who I thought was going to be the main character, and then they kill the bad guys too, and I was like, well, okay, well, you haven't even introduced the main bad guy until like what, 23, 25 minutes in.
Okay, well, first of all, the main guy, like Billy, is his name Billy Ray?
Yeah.
Yeah, so. he has like the best death, like on-screen death in a film I've seen in a while.
He's jumping in the air.
Yeah.
and Drago has the best entrance. Like, I love it. They're like looking at his clothes, like, that's an interesting outfit. And he's like, yeah, you heard of Rome? Well, I'm in Texas. And when I'm in Texas, I dress like a Texan.
It was good.
There's that whole scene about you guys don't look like real cowboys, like as they're going into the bar. And he goes, you can't pull this off. And then he takes the hat, and the guy's like, no. Like,
it's that whole middle management thing.
Yeah.
Where the guy who's in middle management gets shit or lessons from the guy higher up, and he right away has to look at his underling and give him the same thing to feel better about it. He's like, yeah. You guys suck. You don't look like cowboys. Take this hat. He looks at his underling. You suck. You don't look like a cowboy. Take the hat off.
Yeah.
There's so much macho posturing between the bad guys. You know, can't they just get along? And
but that's their version of getting along. I thought that was probably the sexiest scene in the whole movie when they were staring at each other, recounting what prisons they'd been to.
But also, like, there's like a really tender scene of them driving in the car and like talking about
their moms.
Their moms. And I'm trying to like decipher what that was about. Like, are they talking about like they want to create a better life for their moms? Because he has this weird line where he says, you know what I hate the most? The smell of dry piss, alcohol, and death. Like, what is he? And then they talk for like 5 minutes about how much they love their mommies.
They're talking about not wanting to go back to prison, and they're trying to justify the fact that they became bad guys to take care of their parents because they're not suckers. And I'm guessing prison smells like dried piss. I don't know. Some prisons are nicer than others. That's all I got to say about that. Not that I've been there or done anything. FYI. Okay, so then we get introduced to the first two bad guys, who in my mind are the actual badasses, because they're the ones who are like, we don't give a fudge. We're going to shoot our guns off in this residential neighborhood. We're not even going to park near his door. We're going to drag the guy out into the middle of the bay in this nice neighborhood. And then we're going to take him to a helicopter. And we're not just going to drive him in some rural area. Like, those shots were great. They drove him in the helicopter through the town.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I wonder. Like, did they have an entire small town at their disposal? Because in all the chase scenes, like, people are just standing idly by on the sidewalks. Like, there's
Or they're hiding behind a car or something. Like, whenever there's a shoot, there's people like reacting to it. Like, they had a good extras budget on this film, or just they were just people who were there and didn't understand that it was a movie. I don't really know.
They must have had the entire town on lockdown.
Yeah, because there's a scene where they're like, with a shot where they're like riding the helicopter between like two buildings. Like, it looks like it could easily hit some street lights.
It was a great shot. Like, great cinematography there.
Is Action USA like the name of the town? Like, this is Action Town?
I read a name tag on one of the gas station attendants, or was it? It's Waco, Texas. They're in Waco, Texas.
Oh.
Which is, David Koresh, right? But I didn't think it was that big of a town.
I mean, it was basically the whole town. Waco is, as far as I know, a compound, like the entire thing. So
no, they actually had a town.
Oh, okay.
The compound wasn't Waco. It happened in Waco. Yeah.
This is pre-cult Waco.
When they're holding that guy from the helicopter, as like bad guy thugs, and the flailing and it's that's a long time to hold, and he's like holding on to his leg.
He's holding to him. Well, one guy's holding on to him by his toes on his foot. And the other guy's just holding him by the end of his pant leg.
He's like it's like Suge Knight trying to get the rights to Ice Ice Baby from Vanilla Ice, just like holding him by the jeans, right? Like, you know what? This is the first movie I was like, normally I'm trying to like decipher like how are they doing this, but like halfway through I'm like, I'm just gonna let it go. Just come on in, let me get lost in this illusion. And it's like, I mean, at some point, if I'm being hung for 5 minutes from a helicopter to like give up this secret, I'm probably thinking that if I'm done, although he's a badass, like he's probably thinking about his car the whole time. Like, oh fuck, I hope I get up.
His car never factors in again. Like she goes to rescue him in her car.
Yeah,
but he just showed her like, hey, I have this fast car that's powered by blenders, and there's like propane or nitrogen tanks or something that will make it go super fast. So like, why didn't she just take that and like open up those tanks?
I thought that was so weird. Like, maybe she didn't have the keys, or it was stick and she didn't know how to drive.
Maybe it was her car. Maybe she had the keys to her car. Maybe she's a badass.
Yeah.
She has a lot of skills that we don't know about.
Can I drive the blender car, please? If only you promise that we make love when we get home. Okay.
And when he gets into the car, he's like, move over. And he doesn't say thank you at any point. And she's like,
yeah, thanks for saving me.
I just want to help you. I don't need your help, he says. I would have been like, get out of the car then. Get out of the car then. Because I just helped you.
I can't tell you. It's too late. Like, what would have happened if he would have just been, I know where these diamonds are. Yeah. And now these guys want them.
And the whole, like, I dive into fire and ice, and we should go to Holland for chocolate. It was like, why do you need to code this for her? You're telling her not to get involved. Why are you giving her the information, period? And number two, since you're giving it to her, why does it have to be a coded message? And then when they actually got to the place, it was just a windmill.
Yeah.
That's the only real clue that helped.
Yeah.
He told us the exact location in windmill.
But lead
you to this random windmill in the outskirts of Waco, Texas.
Yeah, like what are the chances they found that? Like, is there just one road in and out of Texas? Like, and like, because they just randomly drive by this farm that has a windmill, and like, that's the farm he's talking about in his weird story that I barely remember.
In Action USA, there's only one farm. because that's all that's needed. The action fills the town. That's their main commerce is action.
Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. We just need one road.
We need cars and ramps. Lots of ramps.
Yeah, everywhere. Anytime there's like a traffic jam, someone has to just like place a ramp. So if somebody wanted to strategically just like drive over the school bus, it's an option. You know, they don't have to wait.
You know what's funny is that her fucking whatever actress did the scene where the car door somehow flies open and she's out there and they're doing that car like that's incredible. There's no faking that. That stunt woman is sick.
Crazy. Butt skimming in a skirt.
Yeah.
7 miles an hour.
I would imagine she's tied in somehow or something, but still, like, that's dangerous.
Yeah, for sure. Because they were doing wide shots of that. So it's not like they were faking it and there's like 20 people got her rigged up on it. No, they drove in a wide angle shot with her just kind of like stretching. She almost touches the ground and then she comes back up. Like, it was incredible.
I think there's even a reverse shot from the front that shows her kind of like pull in and pull the door closed, and it's the actress herself. So I don't know when
it seemed like it almost could have been her. Yeah,
I thought it was her, honestly. Dead ringer from behind, at least.
I didn't know, and I think I watched this last Saturday morning, and I was watching it, and then I messaged James and been like, Cameron fucking Mitchell's in this? I had no idea. And this is the first movie I've gone in completely cold. Like, sometimes I'll look up something, like who's in it or like a trailer. Didn't even look up. And then anytime I see Cameron Mitchell, you know, he's going to have the most ridiculous monologue at some point. He's going to say something that never fits the context of the movie. I don't know if that was his shtick. Like, they're just like, we got to get Cam in on this. He's crazy. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, what's happening in the scene where he's just like talking to that woman and like holding her hair? He's got like a clump of her hair in his hand, and he's just like ranting about wanting the diamonds.
Yeah, and then or when they're in the like hot tub or whatever, and they're like,
he's like on the phone, and he's like, he's like, don't get suds on my cigar.
Yeah,
I keep saying that to her, don't get suds on my cigar. And then they hand him the cigar back. He goes, you got suds on my cigar.
I'm curious what working with that guy is like, because any movie he's in, I wonder what the point where he just goes all Nick Cage. Like, there's a point in his career where it just off the rails.
Speaking of which, it'd be nice if there was somebody that we could ask what it's like to work with Cameron Mitchell.
Yes.
So please welcome the director of Action USA, John Stewart.
How you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Hey, John.
Wow, thanks for doing this. This is great.
Hey, no problem.
Yeah. Wonderful movie. I just had the chance to watch it for the first time last week, and so much fun. Like,
thank you.
And I mean, Cameron Mitchell, like, I that's my question. What was it like working with him?
I only had him for a day. I shot all his scenes in one day. He was a nice guy. I mean, I didn't get to know him too much, obviously in a day, but he was up for whatever I threw at him. He didn't mind being in the jacuzzi with the Baylor girl, that's for sure.
Did you give him lines, or was he just shooting off the cuff?
No, he had it scripted. It was all scripted.
The one thing I was wondering was, like, there's been a lot of like speculation that like scenes of Cameron Mitchell in films from around this time, they were all shot at his house.
No, we shot in Texas. So
okay.
He flew to Texas, and we shot in a location house there that we rented.
Well, John, I'm wondering if you can like just like give us like some context of like where you came from. Like I read that you started working in the film industry when you were 17, and you were a stunt double for Matt Dillon.
Yeah, I started on a Matt Dillon film in Boston.
What was the film?
I don't remember, to be honest. It was the first film I ever did. I did two that year. One was A Great American July 4th, Another Great Disasters. This for WGBH. Both films were, but the one, I don't know if that was one I did with Matt, or it was another title, but I can't remember, to be honest. On that Matt Dillon picture, the only reason I got that job because my friend had a small theater in Boston called the Pixie Cinema. just one theater they owned. And I went down to they had a grand opening of it. So I went down and I hung off the marquee upside down, lit myself on fire. Then I dropped it around and I crashed through the doors of the movie theater, real glass, by the way, on fire. And then local news came down and covered it. And that's the producer doing that Matt Dillon picture with WGBH. Was watching the news, and that's how I got my first movie job, because he got my number off the news and called me up and said, hey, you want to come down to a fire gag like you just did for this picture we're doing? And I'm like, well, how much you gonna pay me? And he's going, he said like $500-600. I'm like, you crazy? Yeah, okay, I'll come down and do it for that. You know, back in those days, it was a lot of money for stunt.
Did you kind of just fall into doing stunt work, or was that something that you wanted to do?
No, I wanted to do it since I was 10 years old. And I was like jumping off my grandmother's roof. I was doing, mini bikes, ride mini bikes and all that crazy stuff you do as a kid. So I knew from early on I wanted to do it since I was 10.
Yeah, and I was also reading, I heard that you wrote the script for Action USA when you were recovering from a broken back. Like, I'm wondering if you can tell us a bit about that story.
Yeah, I was just recovering from an injury, and I was directing a lot of second units at the time, so I wanted to direct my own film. So I just started writing a story when I was healing. And I'd sit out my yard in the wheelchair every day and do a little bit of writing. My neighbor come by and asked me what I was doing, Wolfram Berger, and I told him I'm just writing a script for an action movie, kind of tongue-in-cheek action movie. He goes, do you have financing for it? And I said, no. And he said, well, let me try and get you the money. I went, like, okay, I really know him that well. Just said hi as a neighbor, but he obviously knew what I did. And he wasn't in the film business at all. He owned a Porsche dealership. So he went and raised the money, and a few months later, we're down in Texas shooting it. In fact, there's one of the scenes in the movie, I'm running away from one of the cars. You can see me limping because I was still healing.
Did you kind of tell him, like, what the movie was about, or he's just like, no, I'll like
just about that. I mean, I told him what the movie was about, kind of, but he never read the script. When he came to the set in Texas, he was a master mechanic, so he mostly, even though he was the executive producer and put up most of the money for it, he kind of like just was in charge of all the stunt cars and making sure they ran right. And it wasn't until we screened the movie back in LA many months later when it was finished that he went, oh wow, that was great job. He didn't really know what the movie's about. That's what was done. He's seen the stunts and all that. Obviously he was there for the making of it, but he really didn't put two and two together. He just believed in me and and financed it and hoped that he wouldn't get screwed in his investment, which he didn't. But
sounds like a perfect executive producer, really hands off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, well, he's hands on as far as making sure everything ran. He did a lot of work, because we crashed a lot of cars and we were screwing up cars left and right. But he did fly his nephew over, Gunther Simon, who was interested in getting in the film business, to kind of keep an eye on me, make sure, I guess that's why he flew him over. But he moved from Germany and he wanted to get into stunt work. So that was his first, and that was his kind of his training, out of his training for his career.
How does that was like his first stunt work? Had he done anything before? Like, how do you?
Nothing. We let him do some fight scenes, small stuff. He didn't do any of the major stuff, obviously. But I let him do. That's how you teach people. I let him do some fight scenes and small stuff. I think he did the fall off of the Barracuda. There's a scene where Greg falls off of the Barracuda and rolls in the grass. He did do that one.
You're talking about your executive producer with cars. That car in the beginning, kind of the opening sequence with the giant engine in the front, was that one of his creations?
Yeah, what is happening there? We were trying to figure out, like, is that like two blenders on top of the car? Like,
no, well, that was a real car. That was a real race car. I was going to location, was scouting locations. I went to 7-Eleven to get a Slurpee or something, and when I come out, this guy pulled up in that car to go into 7-Eleven. So I waited for him to come out, and I said, well, what a great car. And I told him what we're doing. We're making a movie, and I'd love to use the car on the open title sequence of the film. He said, sure, go use it. So that's how he found that car. I was like, we're on the way to the set to shoot the scene, and he just took a half a day off of work or whatever, so used his car to shoot it.
Wow.
It's amazing.
And that car is still around. I heard they had a screening in Texas a while ago that he was going to bring the car up, you know.
Oh, wow.
Seems like things just kind of really came together for you on your first film. What were some of the bigger challenges that you faced?
Yeah, it was a blessing because if we shot it in LA, it wouldn't have turned out anything like it did, obviously, for the money we shot this thing for. So Tom Calloway, a cameraman that I worked with many, many years before this, said, why don't you come shoot to Texas? He knows a producer down there, Alan Stewart, no relation. But when we went down there, the script that I had originally written, or a story I had written, because David Redskin, the writer, adapted it into a screenplay for my story. But I rewrote the whole thing when I got to Texas, almost the whole script as we were going, because, you know, I got a gas station to blow up. Okay, I got to write that scene in. You know, that crazy guy at the gas station, you know, he came in to read for, and he was just off the wall. So I got to write this guy apart, you know. Oh, you can get me a helicopter? Well, I got to write a helicopter scene in, you know. So I just kind of rewrote it. It wasn't the same stories that I wrote in LA. You know, if it wasn't for Waco, this movie wouldn't have turned out like it did, because we pretty much took over everything there.
Yeah, that's what we were.
Like pretty much free run of the town. Because that's what it seems like.
Pretty much. I mean, the FAA said if I wanted to do that helicopter scene, you know, flying below the buildings and with a guy hanging up, I'd have to basically shut down the town. So the mayor shut it down for me like 4 hours on a Sunday, you know, so we could do that scene. So everybody in the street was my people, you know.
Wow. John, I'm like wondering, like, there's like, this film just seems so heavy on action that it almost seems like a fever dream. Like, do you feel like that the fact that you were like recovering from an injury and maybe on medication, like, did that have any influence on you? Just trying to just cram as much crazy shit into this movie as you possibly could?
Yeah, that wasn't due to medication. I just wanted to do that anyway. But yeah, I wanted to put everything I could think of, and because I had no boss. You know, it was my creation, so I could do anything I want, basically. So yeah, I basically thought of every stunt I wanted to do and wrote the script around the stunts.
Were there any stunts that you wanted to do but couldn't because of budget or time or feasibility?
No, I got to do everything I want. We shot this whole thing in 18 days too. So,
oh, what?
But I was really fast because I've been directing car chases. You know, I could do that in my sleep. So wow. I work with Tommy a lot, my camera guy. So we're really, really fast. And I'm always prepared and have my shot list. And, you know, I'm always 3 steps ahead of the crew thinking what we're going to do next. So we had 18 days, but we got a lot of stuff, obviously, in those 18 days. Some movies would take 18 days to shoot one of those chases, you know. The only thing I didn't get to do, I get to do the stunt, but I had planned when the guy fell off the big building and he lands on the car. That was plan B. I had a street built made out of styrofoam, and I had a camera on a cable up rigged, and going to follow the guy without any cuts all the way to the street and go through the street. Right? My cut point where he'd hit the street. It was 20 feet up on scaffolding. And I had a car put up there and a motorcycle, and I had a couple on a motorcycle, you know, making out or whatever. Had some people in it, but the wind wasn't cooperating that day, and it just kept blowing this fake street that was made of styrofoam. Because that was going to be right above the airbag. So when you hit that, you know, that's your cut point and you go into the bag. But so the wind kept messing my day up and blowing the street, so I couldn't do it. So the alternative was him landing on top of that car, as you see in the movie.
That's like the best option B I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Or like, is the stuntman community like in at that time, like in Hollywood, pretty close knit? Like, I always picture the movie Hooper with Burt Reynolds, where everyone just kind of knows each other.
Yeah, typically. But that, you know, like in Hooper was Stunts Unlimited, Buddy Joe Hooker and his gang, Hal Needham, you know. They have their own little stunt communities, like cliques, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Our union is Screen Actors Guild, but they have Stunts Unlimited, Stuntmen's Associations, little almost like sorority groups, or little cliques. So
yeah,
I wasn't part of the big boy clique. You know, I had my own crew. I was kind of the outsider, because usually when you get in the stunt business, is you go out there, you kiss a lot of ass, go to sets and help them paint their house or whatever the coordinate is, and they'll throw you a bone, you know, let you do a little fight scene. And but I didn't do it that way. I went out and I hustled producers to South and say, hey, you know how they're flipping cars now? I can do it this way. I can do it bigger, badder, crasher, louder, more gas, more explosions. So I got a shot doing that, and that's how I got started. Which the old timers didn't like it. Like, who's this new kid coming into town? But sometimes I was doing 3 movies at one time. You know, I remember one day I left for work on a Monday, didn't get home till the following Sunday night. You know, a whole week. I was going from one set to one set to one set, and just sleeping in my dressing room. And they didn't like that at all. So I kind of was like outsider to some of those guys. So I had my own guys that I worked with, my own 7 or 8, 9 guys that I used on every movie, and that's how I took down in Texas. Like, it was a perfect storm in Texas. I had a good pyro guy, I had my stunt crew, and a great cameraman, in a town that was let me do anything I want, basically.
Were you guys competitive with, like, was your crew competitive with like other stunt crews and trying to stunt each other, sort of thing?
No, because I didn't know what they were doing. You know, I was just doing my own thing. I had no idea what those guys were doing. All I know is what I seen on like Chips, or I was seeing on TV at those days. I'm like, okay, I want to do stuff like that, but I wanted to make it bigger, you know? So I was just thinking up crazy ideas that I could do for myself. I had no clue what other guys were doing. You know, you don't see that until their movies come out. But we all know each other, and we all respect each other. But some of the guys don't like each other, that's for sure.
Yeah, John, I was wondering, like, the physics in this movie seems so skewed towards, like, action in this film. Like, is any opportunity for a car to drive over another car, or just randomly go flying in the air, or like drive over a river or something, or just randomly explode, or a house to explode. It makes me feel like the film was made by someone who loves watching these kinds of movies, you know. And I'm wondering, like what were you really into back then that inspired this film?
Well, yeah, I like watching stuff, and I like the audience to feel a part of the action. That's why I drove the car myself that did all the POV shots, you know, and chase scenes, because I had a rental car with a 2C mounted on a bumper with a rig at all times. So I remember one time just going home, I asked the cop going back to the hotel, can I just get some real footage on the freeway? Want me to go at it? He said, sure. So, so I like making the audience feel a part of the film, you know, and that's what I try to do here, especially in the car chases. And I wanted to really do that in the high fall at the time, but that camera thing, it didn't work, like I was explaining, because of the wind. But yeah, I was into action film a lot back then, you know.
What about now? Are there any filmmakers or stunt people that you're really jazzed on, that you're inspired by anymore, or do you keep up with what's happening now?
No, because it's all mostly CGI now. So you don't impress, you know. Back then, you fell off a 16-story building. That was a big deal back then. You know what I mean? There's no CGI. We're doing all this stuff for real.
Yeah.
Now it's like the audience is not impressed with anything, because you can make anybody do anything with CGI. You know. I like watching the movies, but I'm not like really big fans of Fast and Furious and all that. I mean, I like the actors in them, but obviously the action is, you know, there's a lot of real stunts in those too, but sky's the limit to what they can do in there. You know what I mean? It's what you can do with a computer now, not hands-on, you know. And that, you know, I think it's great because everything's got to evolve, but I miss like doing the stunts, you know what I mean? And like CGA probably put a lot of stunt people out of work, you know. They still need some people, but not as much, you know.
Do you imagine things maybe trending back towards using more practical stunts and live effects?
I think, yeah, they do. I've heard, you know, and people say in comments of they'd like to do more action movies like Action USA without the CGI, you know. Yeah. Just some good old-fashioned action movie, but that's kind of, you know, it's never going to go all obviously back to that. You know, they may do a few films just for, you know, the fun of it that way, but it's going to keep going like it's going with all the crazy, you know, you can do with all the films coming out now with CGI. It's never going to go back to that, no. But I think they do want to there are fans out there that want to see like the real old car chases, you know, the older cars and the real stuff.
Yeah, speaking of which, I was wondering if you could tell us like which of the big stunts in the film were actually you doing it, or if any of them were.
I was, because of the insurance company, I wasn't allowed to do any of the stunts in the film, except for the driving. I was supposed to be behind the camera, and technically I was behind the camera when I was driving. So I did a lot of this driving stuff, and I did all the POV stuff, but I wasn't allowed to, like, and plus I just got over a broken back. I was healing.
Yeah.
So I did my big stunts, like, before Action USA on films like Cold Steel and stuff. I did fall off the 16th-story building on fire, and so a lot of my big stunts in my career were before Action USA.
Yeah.
And after Action, I literally got my second directing job for the screening of Action USA. The producer Ronnie Hadar come up right after the screening, and when I was in the lobby, he said, "I got an action film Cartel I want you to direct." So it pretty much, after Action, I just kept on a directing path and directing career, which I never planned on, to be honest. So my biggest stunts were all pre-Action USA.
But just the way you're able to corral all of that action into, hour and a half or so, just amazing accomplishment.
I appreciate the compliment. I did get one critic that said, well, the movie slowed down. I forget what scene it was. He goes, well, the movie, I was loving the movie until it slowed down. I don't even remember what scene he was talking about, but you got to slow it down a little bit. You got to have a little bit of a story, Maybe it was them talking when they're having breakfast with the girl or something. I don't remember. Why do you slow the story down there, Yeah.
It's nice to have a break from like the first 20 minutes are just one long amazing car chase essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, and I did that in a few films because here was the thing back then when they sold these films at the American Film Market or Cannes or whatever, Cannes Film Festival or whatever. The people who went to make the decision to buy these films for the country, they go in these screenings and they don't watch the whole movie. They watch the first 5-10 minutes. If they don't like it, they leave. Yeah. If they do like it, they buy it. They ain't got time to watch 50 films a day. So I knew early on that I had to start the movie out with something big to grab their attention. And so that's what I did. That's why I did that whole scene with the helicopter and all that. That was, strictly, I wanted to have something so the buyers would buy this movie, you know what I mean? Not walk out of it. So, and, like the James Bond movies, they did the same thing. They always started out something crazy. But when we had the screening back, when we screened the movie for the American buyers, my friend at the time, kind of my agent, said, well, don't worry. They're only going to watch, they're only staying for the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie. Then they all walk out. That's just what they do. It doesn't mean they don't like the movie. I'm like, okay, because you wanted me to be disappointed if they walked that way. It didn't mean they didn't like it. So my friend was Linda Blair at the time. So she came with me to the screening, and when the movie started, I've seen it a million times, we kind of ducked out of the crowd, and I think we screened it, I think it was Warner Brothers or someplace, and we went down, got a 6-pack of beer, we sat out in the fire escape of the side door to the theater, having a few beers. About halfway through the movie, producer comes running out, you guys gotta get back in here. I'm like, what do you mean? Did they leave already? He goes, no, they're loving it. Every one of those guys stayed for the whole entire movie and clapped after it.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah, that was great. So I wasn't expecting that for sure, But I did write that scene at the beginning, for that reason. So at least they'll stay 5 or 10 minutes. Okay, it's an action movie. We'll take it, type of thing. Because that's where they bought them back then. They didn't really have time to sit and watch the whole movie.
How do you feel about just the resurgence of the film lately? Just, with the 4K restoration, and it looks great, by the way.
I've yet to see it, so
Yeah, no, it looks great.
I can't wait to see it. When I got the call the two things that happened. Tom Calloway was talking to another company about doing a restoration for a release, and then unrelated, Tim League from Alamo Drafthouse called me. Someone gave him a copy of the screening they had at a backyard screening, and he calls me up and wanted to do a theatrical release. I'm like, sure. So those two companies, and Tim League knew that company, so the two companies made a deal together, and that's how the whole thing came together. But I think it's great because when we released it in the past, kind of did this thing video, and then we all went on to our other careers. I was heavy doing stunts and movies, but it never got like a TV release, And I always was talking to Tom Calloway, the cameraman, all over the years. We got to get Action USA on TV, and oh yeah, we'll do it. And then we each doing movies, so it wasn't until recently that we really, Tommy really got the deal with the company and to get it done. You know what I mean? So I'm stoked that it's getting the attention. It always had a cult audience, a small one. So I knew people liked it, but it never got the exposure. So now it's really getting the exposure that I'm glad for. I just wish some of the actors were still alive so they could see it, you know.
Yeah, I was wondering like what the release was like because me personally, I would spent about like 3 years just trying to find a copy of it so I could watch it on VHS, and I finally found one, and I like almost like just killed over and had a heart attack. I was so excited, but like it makes me feel like there weren't that many copies in distribution. Like, did it do well at video stores? Like,
I mean, we got our money back for sure. It did well. Well, first they released it, you know, foreign, and it did very well there. And then it had, you know, like a smaller VHS release here in the States. But like you say, I didn't even have a copy of the movie. If I want them, I think I have to get one on Amazon or something, you know. So it was hard, but yeah, there you go. And I think I did buy one time on Amazon, and I gave it to somebody. So Greg Cummings, one of the actors in the movie, he played Oswald. He sent me we did another one of these interviews, and oh, you don't have a copy? So after the thing, he got my address and he sent me a copy of it. But he just literally copied off the VHS, so it's probably a crappy quality. I haven't even watched it yet. So I'll wait to get the Blu-ray or whatever they come out with.
Yeah.
How did you go from making Action USA to directing the Power Rangers?
Well, like going back to Ronnie Haddad, who watched the screening of Action USA, was a producer. I did some stunts for us, so I invited him to the training. Then he had the film Cartel, and he gave me that directing job after the night of the screening of Action USA. And then we worked together for many years on a lot of films after that. And then he was one of the producers for Power Rangers. So when that came about at the beginning, he brought me in to direct it because they wanted to get like someone with experience directing movies, not TV, to give it a more kind of maybe a movie look per se. So that's how I got that job, through Ronnie.
Did you bring like any crazy stunt ideas that were turned down by the show? Like,
no, it was mostly fighting. I did bring my karate guy, Jeff Pruitt. They had a really great choreographer, Isaac Florentine, who started with the show. But I was working with Jeff Pruitt a lot, who did Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and he was more into the wires, the Jackie Chan stuff. So when I got hired as director, I brought him on to do a lot of the wire gags and the spinning and all that crazy stuff in Power Rangers. But Power Rangers didn't have any big stunts, you know, it was all just mostly fight stuff.
Yeah.
I tried to shoot it like I do films, like with steady cams and stuff like that, and zoom in, dolly out kind of moves, stuff like that. So I try to build a little bit of a film look to it, but it's the same sets every week, you know. So you really can't get too creative.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was wondering, like there's a big gap in your directing credits between that and Fall Guy. Like, did you just get bored of directing from that show, or just in general?
Yeah, I did a few movies. I did, I think, 4 or 5, and then I took some time off. I had to raise my kids, basically by myself since I was 6 years old. So I took a lot of time off to raise my kids. And the major thing is, a lot of stuff I was directing, I was writing, and I just didn't have any good ideas, or, you know, like I said, I was busy. It's hard to concentrate, you know what I mean, when you're raising 2 young kids. So I did take a little break, and then I got into music. So I started writing a lot of music, and they did some, which I'm doing now. So it kind of went from movies to music.
Yeah. Speaking of writing, one thing I wanted to ask you was, Action USA ends on a bit of a cliffhanger with the 3 main characters walking to the car. They're kind of talking about maybe keeping the diamonds and
Right.
hiding out somewhere. We never find out what happened to Frankie Navarro. Like, did you do that intentionally to open it up to possibly making a sequel?
Yeah, that's where I originally left it, but it obviously never happened. And like I said, once it was released, it wasn't like a blockbuster hit. So we weren't going to be like, why are we going to do a sequel to something that's, you know, just got normal exposure, you know? They just kind of put it out there, video, and it did its thing. But so I really didn't put too much thought into it, to be honest with you. Like I said, we moved on to other things. I didn't want to get typecasted just to be an action director, you know, because I did get some offers to direct some other action movies that I turned down because I really wanted to do a thriller, you know what I mean? So when I wrote Hidden Obsession, which is basically had really no action. It was more of a psychological thriller. No one would let me direct it at the time. They were just saying, well, why don't you direct this action picture? And I'm like, no, I'm going to hold out for my thriller. You know what I mean? So I was trying to get out of the realm of being typecasted just to do action movies. I wanted to do other stuff. So I didn't put much thought into the sequel for action at all. So I don't really know the answer to that question. We never had a conversation about it.
Well, yeah, like maybe you can tell us a bit about what you've been doing recently. Like you're working on music.
Yeah, I've been writing a lot of music. I wrote some country stuff, and we did some touring. I was working with one of the singers from American Idol. We opened for Big and Rich and in Chi. And I recently got into writing Latin music, which is kind of crazy, but that's going really good. We just did this big benefit concert a couple of nights ago that was on one of the streaming concert series called Let Me Help. The band's called Juliana, and like I say, it's all Latin based. We do some duets. We have English and Spanish in it. So that's what the past few years. That's what I've been concentrating mostly on that, you know. But I would so the other problem, most of the scripts I had, I was writing, and I haven't really had a good idea to sit down and write a whole screenplay again. And so I've just been concentrating on writing the music, but if something came around, I would definitely do it. And I was talking to Calloway, the DP, about when someone mentioned about possibly doing going back to Waco to do Action USA 2. I said, no, let's not do Action USA 2. Let's just write a whole new script and go back there and just do it down and dirty like we did the first one with no CGI and make it real, you know?
Well, we're so excited that this film has seen the light of day again, and it's not just lost to VHS. And you know, if someone who wants to watch it doesn't take them 3 years to track it down finally, randomly, it's great that it's on demand and it's gonna be on Blu-ray and that it's gonna find another audience. So
yeah, I'm stoked, and it still baffles me to this day because when Tim Lee called and a lot of his friends, I said, well, who brought you the movie? Some kids? No. Well, a lot of these guys are in their 50s and 60s, you know. It kind of makes sense now, but 6 months ago, he was telling me all this. I'm like, why do these executives, you know, why they want to have anything to do with this little movie? It's a tongue-in-cheek action thing I did. I wasn't meant to be taken seriously. But they all loved the movie. He says, Tim Lee said it was his favorite movie of all time. I'm like, are you crazy? And then I thought it was a gay call. I'm like, why him? How old are your friends? Oh, they're in their 50s. And they're having a backyard screening of Action USA. But then it kind of made sense to me because people our age, that's what we used to see back then, you know what I mean? Without the CGI. Yeah. So maybe they're liking it because of that reason, because it was real.
Yeah, we're so excited to be able to show the film in this new way. It's really exciting for us. I had one last question for you, John. Someone, you know, who's maybe just getting into your filmography and isn't familiar with all your stunt work, what's the one stunt in a film that you're most proud of that you would say to somebody, you know, go watch this stunt that really embodies what my work was all about?
There's two stunts that was really there was one stunt I did in a movie called Nightmare at Noon, where I crashed a motorcycle in the back of a car at like 70 miles an hour. And you know, what I did was I put the car in apple boxes to raise it up off the street a little bit that you couldn't see. And then I had a ramp going all the way up almost to the back window. It was a station wagon, and I was going to hit it lengthwise. So I had a ramp about a foot shy. So although his motorcycle would come up, my front wheel would hit the edge of the car, do this, and I go flying through the air. And I had like 30 gallons of gas they put, and they blew it up before I hit it, just before I hit it. So I came through the fireball. Right. So I really like that stunt. I went 30 feet in the air, and I went 120 feet out from where the ramp. I put 100 feet of boxes. I said, I'm never going to go farther than that. You know, I've done this stuff before, and I went usually 50, 60 feet. I went 130 feet in the air, 120 feet to the cement, and I actually landed, and my leg went behind me. You know, my femur broke in half, and when I landed, my foot completely turned around. Other than that, the stunt was great. So I really like that one. And then that firefall I did on Cold Steel. Those two, I would say, it'd be worth watching. You know, like I say, now you're not going to impress anybody, but to the old timers that knew, okay, this is done way back in the day. You know, this is all real stuff. You know, they may enjoy it.
Okay, I can ask you questions all night, but one that just popped into my head that I have to know is when your cameo in Action USA is the like asshole from Boston.
Yeah.
Crashes into that house and the house explodes. What makes the house explode? Within the movie,
well, within Boston, houses do really explode. They have gas heaters, you know, gas fire. You know,
okay.
In Boston growing up, I remember watching a house just explode for no reason because it was a gas leak. You know what I mean? So in the house, we don't in the movie we don't show why, but in my mind, why would the house blow up? That was it. Hit a gas line.
It's my favorite scene in any film I think I've ever seen, by the way.
Yeah, make no sense, right?
It's wonderful. Sorry about your house, buddy. It's the best line.
Yeah, we had that, you know, so they were going to tear down that house, so they came to me, hey, we got a house. You want to do something with it? And so the art department, I think they went and painted the outside of it because we're never going to see the inside. So that was one of those things we got for free in Waco, you know. I did do a similar scene in Cartel with a house in Beverly Hills, actually, that we're going to tear down. So I got to really drive a car through the front of probably a $4 million house, you know, in Beverly Hills. But they were literally going to turn it down, and one of the actors in the movie was their parents' house, so they let us drive a car through that for the start of the rape scene in Cartel when the bad guys go in. They're supposed to just knock at the door and kick the door in. I'm like, let's drive a car through the damn.
Why not?
Yeah, why knock when you can drive right through the front door?
Exactly. And it was a nice house. You know, Action USA, obviously the house looks like a shithole. But in Cartel, they probably thought we spent a lot of money in this movie. Okay, they're driving cars through a nice house like this. They got to have a big budget.
Yeah.
Well, this has been wonderful talking to you about this film. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Hey, no problem. Good luck with your screening or whatever you're going to do, and I look forward to get a Blu-ray copy myself and checking it out.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Well, happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, you too. Thanks a lot. Congrats, and we'll hopefully see something from you again soon.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that would be nice. All right.
Okay.
Take care.
Have a good night.
You too.
What a treat.
What a treat. What a tasty treat that was, talking to John Stewart.
Yeah. I mean, if people have made it this far, then I mean, you're lots of thirst for action cinema.
Yeah, that's the poster, the theatrical poster that I thought was so awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But I am a really big fan of the original VHS cover.
Well, it's like, you know, show off your goods, right? You know.
Well, I mean, you have like it's like anytime I find a movie and I'm like, oh, is this something I'm interested in? It's like, well, you've got a guy falling out a window, you've got like a guy that's on fire, and then you've got that like a car driving over other cars. It's like I'm 100%, 110% on board.
Man, like they did actually, like Waco, Texas is Action USA.
Yeah, so we were right. Like they shut the whole town down, essentially.
They let me do whatever I wanted. They were like, "Please, old house, you want to blow it up? We got this gas station. You want to blow it up?" They're like, "Oh, hey, we got a helicopter." He's like, "Oh, I got to write it in." Fantastic.
Yeah, I was just like thinking about how like there's like just these like moments like of just like odd like coincidence that happen in the film constantly. You know, like there's just like the bad guys are constantly catching up with them, but then like that's like it's kind of like echoes the making of the film itself. Like John just like was at 7-Eleven and there's just some guy in some car. He's like, "Hey, we're shooting a movie. You want to come over?" He's like, "Yeah, I have nothing to do today." And just like
like that's pretty much like it crazy.
It almost shouldn't be part of Cream of the Crop. Like maybe it embeds the spirit of it.
Yeah,
but too good to be, you know?
Yeah. Well, I was kind of wondering if maybe when we started our talk tonight, we should start out with a bit of a qualification test for, is it crap worthy?
No, I think it invokes the spirit of Cream of the Crop with its ridiculousness, but in terms of everything else, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so sorry, but 100% this is a Cream of the Crop movie.
I know it is. But
It's just that it's not so bad that the whole plot isn't about incest.
Yeah.
Or
And there's no rape scenes.
Yeah.
There's no rape scene. Finally, you can't.
That was uncalled for.
Trying to play Benny Hill.
Yeah.
Hey, no, I would argue there are plenty of times in this movie to play the Benny Hill theme.
It would have been like 90% of the film. You would have been.
Yeah.
No, you would have lost some of those great lines, like that one guy when he finally dies and he's driving the car and he hits the trailer. He's like, "I'll see you in hell, Lucky." What did Lucky do to you? This almost feels like an homage film, is what it is. Like, and he almost so much as said in the interview that that's what he was doing.
Yeah, he wanted to be tongue-in-cheek, referential.
Tongue-in-cheek, yeah, he says it. Yep.
Okay, so Action USA is filming, like, Mayor of Waco's like, this is totally going to put Waco on the map. Nothing else is going to happen that's going to, like, this is going to...
They've got helicopters.
Yeah.
How could you top that?
Crashes. Yeah.
No ways there are going to be so many people dying.
Yeah. No ways there are going to be a bigger fire or explosion.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Man, this movie
too soon.
will get Waco a cult-like following.
Oh.
I've been saving that since we found out it was Waco. I was like, I'm gonna wait till after the interview to make that joke, because if I make that joke, it might be like, I knew people who died. Like, I don't want. Maybe it was a sensitive joke, but man, Waco's known for two things. David Koresh, but more importantly, the home of Action USA.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. Well, I think we've. I don't know if we can. There's much more we can say about Action USA.
I don't think you can. You just have to watch it again.
But I was just thinking, since it's almost Christmas, and this video is going to be up until Christmas, I wanted to share something with you guys.
Oh no.
Excited about Christmas this year, although I didn't quite
John
start out
Stewart.
that way. In fact, I was really pretty sad this morning. Oh, Zordon, I just can't seem to get into the Christmas spirit.
Cheer up, Alpha. It's Christmas Eve. Although it does seem strangely quiet without the Power Rangers.
But where are they, Zordon?
They have a very important mission this Christmas. They are helping Santa get all the presents ready for the children.
That is a big job. Santa can use all the help he can get. There he is, preparing the reindeer for their long trip tonight. I know the Rangers have a lot of work to do, but Christmas just isn't the same if you are all alone.
I know, Alpha. I can't promise the Rangers, but I've made arrangements for you to have some company tonight. Push the green button on the console and get ready for some Christmas magic.
The green button abducts children.
Many families have their own Christmas traditions. Do you do anything special at Christmas time, Stephen?
It snows where I live, so I like to go sleigh riding.
Does the sleigh have jingle bells on it?
Yeah.
Do you know how to sing Jingle Bells?
Do you guys know how to sing Jingle Bells?
Then let's sing it.
Then let's sing it. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride. Come on, everybody. Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all
I think we lost Amanda again.
What fun it is to ride. No, she just doesn't want it. Come on, you guys. What an open space. Oh, where will we go? We're laughing all the way. Ha ha ha. Making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleigh song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. Hey!
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Hey! Oh, what fun it is to ride in one horse open sleigh. Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all the way.
By the way, this is a loop that goes on for 2 hours. Yay!
Wow.
Well,
thanks, James.
Thanks for that.
I think this is where we could say goodbye, everybody.
The perfect gift. Goodbye.
I asked John if he would do that sing along with us, and he's like, no.
Thank God. Yeah.